So the Brookings Institution found out that, hey, you know what? Maybe there is such thing as no bad publicity, right? You hear that saying quite often, and when it comes to the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare, it's certainly true, especially when you look at the amount of money people have spent on anti-Affordable Care Act ads. So you would think, hey, if a lot of money is being funneled into these types of ads, then obviously people are going to be less likely to sign up for the Affordable Care Act. Not so fast. So here's what the Brookings Institution found. And the lead researcher for this study was a man by the name of Niam Yagahi. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. And his analysis compared states' per capita ad spending with their enrollment rates and found that it was often the case that the more money spent on anti-Affordable Care Act ads, the more Americans actually signed up for the coverage. Now let me break down the ads for you a little bit just so you get a sense of how much money people are spending on these ads that have not worked, okay? The advertising budget of the ACA's opponents was about 15 times the size of that of the law's supporters, okay? So let me break it down even further for you so you get a sense of how much money has been spent. A total of $445 million had been spent on TV ads mentioning the Affordable Care Act, so they're not all negative, right? And spending on anti-ACA ads outpaced pro-ACA ads by 15 to 1. The 58,000 positive ads that were aired up to that point were dwarfed by the 880,000 ads produced by the law's opponents. Damn, so they're spending a lot of money and they're like, we're gonna make it rain, right? We're going to try to make sure that people don't sign up for the Affordable Care Act. We want to get rid of it, but it didn't work. So let me give you the results of the study. With negative ads, citizens' awareness about this subsidized service increases, and the more ads they see, the more they know that such a service exists. Now that's a quote from the researcher, and that's actually his hypothesis, but he does also have a second hypothesis, which I think rings true. He says the other theory is that citizens who were exposed to an overwhelming number of ads about Obamacare are more likely to believe that this service is going to be repealed by the Congress in the near future. So he or she will have a higher willingness to go and take advantage of this one-time opportunity before it goes away. Sorry. This is what happens, right? So look, this is a bigger study on negative press and bad publicity and whether or not it has an effect. But in this case, they totally did something that backfired, because what they did is they informed the public about something. They're like, can you believe it? All of a sudden, you have access to health insurance. So if you're about to die from a disease, you can still get covered. Isn't that terrible? And Americans are like, oh, that sounds awesome. I'm going to sign up right away. I love it. They wasted their money. This is the way that it should go. And, you know, to extend to basically extend on this study and to look into other forms of bad press and whether or not it works, there was a really interesting study done on book reviews, right? So let's say the New York Times does a book review on a particular book and it's a glowing review. Sales will go up. Let's say they do a review on a book that was written by a well-known author and it's a negative review. Sales will go down. But what happens when book reviewers decide to write a negative review on an obscure author? The results are actually really interesting. A negative review of a book by a more obscure author caused sales to increase by an average of 45%, even taking into account the most vitriolic reviews. Okay, and that was a study that was done by Harvard and Stanford researchers. So it shows you that sometimes when you want to put the word out there and make it seem as though a certain policy is super negative and it's going to hurt everyone, it might backfire, and that's certainly what happened with Republicans and these anti-Affordable Care Act ads.